We got freedom to gain, we feed them the game. Turn on new Freedom XChange, we freeing your brain. They trying to shackle your mind, no half of us blind. Remember the past, but never go backwards in time. The ancestors lived through us, they help us build a model community. New Africa is soon to be. So tune in to Sister Marsha, Mujahideen, Imam Bilal to get your cultural enlightenment now.
Welcome back to another edition of New Freedom XChange, your cultural expression for social dignity and community empowerment. I'm your co-host, Mujahideen, here with...
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Marsha.
Wa alaikum assalam, everyone. Welcome back. New Freedom Exchange, live and direct here on New Freedom Network and the Exchange. So please do take that second to hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel for New Freedom Network, on the YouTube channel for New Freedom Exchange with an X, and also check us out on Facebook, New Freedom Exchange, like us there, and on the network side, New Freedom Network Facebook page as well. So we're happy to see everyone on this Saturday evening. So I hope everyone is doing well, and when you come into the space, let us know, give us salams, let us know where you're tuned in from so we can shout you out. And we look forward to tonight's very, and also every night we come on here. Saturday night is a very special show. So in that order, we have three more special guests. So it's a couple. So three people who will be with us on the screen. So alhamdulillah, very grateful for that. Before we bring them on, how are you all doing?
Doing well. It was a nice day today in this area, pretty warm out, and so it was good to have that weather. Yesterday was nice too, so we had two nice days of weather out here. Today I got to at least participate in part of a really historic interview. So today at Marsha Muhammad Noor, there was an interview with Imam Wali, brother Imam, I say Imam.
Yeah, you can say that.
Yeah, Imam Wali Muslim, like
That's the Sheikh.
That's the Sheikh. So there was an interview with him today telling the history of how Islam was established in Newark way back in the 50s. And so it was good to be able to sit and listen to his stories about this initial group of 12 people who came together to establish Islam in Newark and how that came to be and who all was involved. And, to me, the most amazing thing was that, like, he remembers all of that stuff. This man is 91 years old. And when he was recounting these stories, he could tell you what year it was. He was like, this was in 1957, and this was in 1959, and this was in 1954. And I was just like, yeah, I got a problem remembering last week. And this brother is telling me how it happened and when it happened. And I'm like, man, like that is definitely a blessing from Allah. Because don't ask. I could probably tell you a story, but don't ask me no years, no months. Don't do that because I'm gonna mess it up. So I thought it was very amazing that he could recount all of that, and I mean he was throwing out names left and right, and I was like, that is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. So I didn't get to stay for the whole program, but anybody who's interested in seeing that, you actually can catch it on New Freedom Network. We have it live streamed. We shared it from the original live stream, which was happening on Marsha Muhammad Noor's page. So check it out. I thought it was amazing that he could remember all that. But how about you all? How are you doing?
Doing good. I'm gonna put that link in the chat as well for those who come on later to check that out. But yeah, that was I got to catch some of it via online as well. And a brother from Baltimore, Imam Abdul Salam, who came up also was very nice. But yeah, so I mean, I love history, so that's I was tuned in pretty tight. But outside of that, just here with the Ox, the brothers, the young bulls. It's everybody getting ready for the big Super Bowl tomorrow, so we gotta Got a little inside competition on the mat and stuff like that. You know, that's what it is right now. But the one thing that is interesting, like my son's coach, he high school coach, is actually gonna be featured in the Super Bowl for one of his halftime speeches. They're gonna do a clip of what he did back in 2013. So that was pretty interesting. His thing was like hold the line or something like that. And so I was teasing with my son and just jiggling with him a little bit. So it's interesting. But other than that, just trying to stay healthy. How about you, Imam?
Oh yeah, so alhamdulillah, everything has been going pretty well. Today we had a successful mentoring program with the scholars. Study wins the race, and I'm happy to report that one of the most shyest so far members, scholars, who does not like to turn on his camera, actually really liked the session today. And I received a phone call from his mother, and she said she really appreciated the session today, really enjoyed it. So that was good to hear, and we're going to keep working towards the goals that they had. Actually, today, speaking of goals, I introduced SMART goals to the scholars, and what is a goal and how to measure it and break down what is SMART, and give them that introduction to that. So we worked through the worksheet, and they were able to identify the goals that they have, and a lot of them said math. They wanted to improve their math grades, and that's a very big thing, and a very crucial element of our life is math is the everyday thing. Even if you're not an engineer or in a heavy math field, you still need to know how to do math. So even basic math. So we made a little layout for them, and we're going to continue building on that as we go throughout the year, checking in with them and their progress on that, and working with them on the progress of that. And so definitely that was good. And we attended also. I attended on behalf of my family and the New Freedom team here, a janazah for one of our dear friends, members of our community, Sister Naja Mahdi Muhammad, daughter of Imam Salahuddin Muhammad, Sister Fonda Muhammad's, her brother, Sister Fonda's brother, passed away. And we asked that people keep the family in prayer and dua and supplication. We attended the janazah up in Newburgh Islamic Center, where the Jummah was held and the janazah prayer was held afterwards, and immediately took the body to be buried at the nearest Muslim cemetery, which is the Mid-Hudson Valley Cemetery. So definitely keep those in prayer, and keep those also infected in Turkey and Syria, our Muslim brothers and sisters who are, insurmountable damage. Last check, I think it was 20,000. I don't know if it rose any further, but 20,000 plus lives taken from the earthquake that took place. So please keep them in prayer and dua, and give what you can if you can afford to give what you can. And also the janazah for brother officer, NYPD officer Adib Fayaz, who was shot off duty trying to get a car for his brother, and it was a botch post online, and it ended him in being dead. So the janazah was packed. From what I saw, over 1,000 people, mainly NYPD, came out in support. The mayor, Eric Adams, the NYPD commissioner, the Pakistani general consulate representative from the council, all gave very good testimonies to brother Fayaz. So we asked all of those things that happen in the world and locally, nationally, internationally, to keep everyone in prayer and supplication during this time.
Ameen, ameen, ameen. Wow, so today we got a nice another show, New Freedom February, highlighting, of course, celebrating the past of our community's history and legacy and tribute, but we also are making some new history. We have some people today who are making new history, so we want to bring our first guest. So I did find a nice little video we want to play before they get on. Normally we play the hot tracks at the end, but we're going to start with a hot track. Once this hot track is over, we'll bring them right in. That is our dear sister Intisar and brother Rashid.
Sending love in every shade of brown to you. Sending love in every shade of brown to you. First cutter be the one that sets the tone, to add pressure to a lesser known flesh and bone, to look different than the picture shown, and to be a rebel means you're not about to settle till you get your own. This one's for all my outside of the box thinkers, with bumblebee singers and paper cut fingers and scrapes on their kneecaps. I know the pain lingers. The healthy way to heal a broken wing is to give it love. Sending love in every shade of brown to you. Sending love in every shade of brown to you. Sending love in every shade of brown to you. Sending love in every shade of brown, shade of brown. Yeah, the thing about community is how proud it is. We understand what well balanced and what grounded is. And love is the hinge that heals and mends, conceals and blends, and keeps us all covered. That's Browndages. We say it's all black when it's all love, and it's brown when it's all good. Browndages. We help heal the hurt. So put us on. So put us on. I said you gotta put us on.
Welcome.
That was groovy.
Alaikum assalam. Brother Rashid, I saw you. I can see you in the background.
You know, I still get excited when I hear that song. It's a good track. It really he did his thing.
He did a wonderful job. He did. So thank you all for being on with us today. We really appreciate you coming to talk with us. If our viewers haven't figured out by now, today we are interviewing the owners of Browndages, which I think is such a cool name. Who came up with the name? He did. Okay.
The Barracuts.
Okay. Came up with the name. Yeah. So these are the owners of Browndages, and if you don't know, I'll let them tell you. Go ahead and introduce yourselves. Tell us who you are and tell us about Browndages.
Well, I'm Rashid, Mahdi, and this is my wife. She can introduce herself and then give the spiel of Browndages.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I'm Intisar Bashir, co-owner, co-founder of Browndages. We are a first aid care brand that specializes in products for our people. So, shade inclusive to the many shades that we come in. And we have a line of children's bandages as well that were inspired by our own children. It's a business that, though a bandage is a small, part of the world, it makes a difference to a lot of different people. You would be surprised how much of a difference that it makes. So, our children inspired us to, create these products.
Now, are your children like my children where so two of my children are bigger now, so they're 16 and 18, and then I have an 11-year-old. But when all of them, when they were younger, like love to put a bandage on like nothingness.
Yes, those are our favorite customers. We love the kids when we tell them put them on the walls, put them on whatever you want to put them on, and we got more for you.
Listen, my daughters would not even be bleeding, and they're like, "I need a bandage," and I'm like, "Where's the blood?"
We like it. That's what we like.
Right. That's what keeps the lights on over here.
Okay.
We have a 2-year-old, and he'll be 2 next month, and that is the phase that he is entered into. He knows we have a plentiful supply of bandages here, so he just goes in the bathroom and brings them to me and takes it off 5 minutes later and brings me another one. I'm like, bro, like, this is not just, a revolving door of bandages.
We're trying to teach him.
We paying the bills, bruh.
Yeah.
Right.
We can't get high off our own supply. I'm trying to teach him the 10 crack commandments.
Right. So what made you want to start this kind of business?
I guess I would admit, me personally, like, I didn't know growing up that bandages were supposed to like blend in with your flesh. And so it was kind of at around that time that we came up with the ideas when I literally learned. And I was like, but none of the ones that we have in our house that we could buy from the store matched any of the flesh of any of the people in our house. So it was just like, hey, why not? Like, you know what I mean? It's from here until the end of time, people are going to need bandages. So it's not like, you know, it's a dying industry or anything like that. So with his genius name that he came up with, we just decided to, you know, go from there. Alhamdulillah. So,
and I think we also wanted to do for self a little bit. Like, don't get me wrong, we still have our nine to fives, but at the same time, it's different having something that's your own. So the blood, sweat, and tears that you put into it, it gives you a little a sense of I don't know. It makes you feel good, and I'm, you know, so that has something to do with it as well.
Yeah, build that out a little more. That do for self, having that sense of independence with your ideas come into reality. I also know you guys have a theme called Healing in Silence or Heal in Silence. Can you speak to that as well?
So the meaning behind it is, I mean, so it's heal in silence. So a lot of times, even when we wear the other colored bandages, you know, you can walk out and people will see you. They know that you got hurt or have an injury. So we wanted to give, I guess, African Americans and other, you know, people of color, the ability to heal in silence, to go out without, you know, individuals gawking at your injury, or, you know, they don't need to know that I got scratched, or they don't need to know. So that was the meaning behind that particular slogan.
and again, he came up with that. You know, he has the gift of words, so he comes up with a lot of our words.
The gift of gab.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you've ever heard me talk,
Detroit.
you know that's not true.
So now we have discussed a little bit of the history of Browndages and how it came about. I want to also take it up a little further. So in terms of business, who is the more business person out of this couple here? Who's about the business, the money, the bookkeeping, and all that? Who does that part?
Me.
I can you don't put your finger over there.
I feel like
It's a little, so we have different responsibilities, right? And I will say, like, she's definitely more like, how much money, what's our profit? I'm more, you know, let's help this person, and let's be,
just give it all away. I'm like, bro, like, how we gonna make money?
So it's a happy medium. I think oftentimes we compromise. But she does do a lot of it. Like when it comes to the emails and sending out stuff, she definitely fulfills more orders. But that's, you know, we help out in that regard. But yeah, when it comes to the money portion of it, it's her as far as making sure we can get as much out of it as we can.
I
felt like we were playing that couples game where you make them like turn back to back and you ask the question. It's like,
yeah, that one's her.
Yeah,
she can have that one.
So my follow-up question to that, so now since we're getting to know the couple and how the couple takes care of the business, right? How does the marriage, being married, right? How does that? I would say, what's the word I want? How did you go marry marriage and business? I know that sounds a little wonky, but how did you marry the two, being married and the business? Like, how did you all come? How are you all managing that? And just describe to the people, like the audience, about being married and having a business.
At our core, we are two of the like most laid back people. Mm-hmm. So it's not too much that will like fluster us or like, you know, cause friction or anything. Mm-hmm. And we're just really good. Like he said, like we compromise a lot. Like I'm like that cutthroat, like business person. And he's like, no, like, you know, and so the happy medium is just like a smooth running business. It's not like we're not out to get every nickel and dime, but we're not trying to like just hand our product over to any and everybody. So I think that's how we run our business, and that's also how we like live our marriage. You know what I mean? Like we're very much so. I think also we're both semi, if not completely, like people pleasers. So we try to do our best to like compromise and do what's best for the other. And so it just kind of works out.
Yeah. So, I mean, we talk, we discuss, same thing with marriage. If, you know, we have any issues, we discuss them. And then we try to, you know, see the other person's point of view. And if it makes sense, you know, so it's a lot of compromising. A lot of me, although I'm right, I will, you know, have it your way.
So Aki, so you compromise, man? Whoa, Aki. Whoa, slow down.
Right, like it ain't
I'm allowed trying to start trouble, and I ain't gonna let him do that. So
Bilal fresh to it. Look at him.
Yeah, I ain't gonna let him do that near bit. So I imagine though that it's really, really cool to be in business with your spouse. So one thing I didn't know that you all just shared is that you still have your 9 to 5s. Like I didn't realize that was a component of your business situation. So that's, you know, how does that work? Because I know a lot of people who work 9 to 5s and they're sort of doing what you described, right? We're working on 9 to 5, but we also have this business, and that's sort of like a strategy to transition into entrepreneurship. Is that the same goal that you all have, or is this kind of like, this is our baby, but we still want to do this?
I'll quit my 9 to 5 in a hot second. Like, I will.
No, she won't. I've been telling her since we've been married, you don't have to work.
No. I'm not saying like I have to work. No.
Right.
Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that I continue to work my 9 to 5 because
she
I
like
have
having
to
a 9
work.
to 5.
Yeah, you know, I mean, like if
now I will quit my 9 to 5 in a heartbeat if Browndages was at, like, people have to understand, although like alhamdulillah we have gotten some exposure. We got, you know, the Shark Tank, like we got some exposure, but it's not what we're making right now. The revenue right now, it won't pay the bills. Like we still, I'm broke. She got money, but I'm broke,
brother. We ain't even gonna let you speak that. We ain't even gonna let you talk. I mean,
like we've done well, but it's not enough where we could have like quit our job.
We couldn't. It's not consistent enough. That's what it is. It's like we definitely have these huge, you know, spikes and stuff like that, but we need a consistent, you know, number that we could, you know, live off month to month.
And it's a little bit tougher now because the market right now is so saturated. So that's one of the things that we're dealing with, because everyone has a flesh tone bandage now. Like Walmart has their brand.
Yeah, no, bro, those are knockoffs, man.
Right, but if someone is in Walmart, then they're gonna grab a box and say, oh, you know.
Yeah.
So that's our struggle right now. So please keep it to your do-offs.
Absolutely. And so some months ago, well, every August we do something called New Africa August, right? And we do interviews with various different people. And when we're interviewing our business guests, one of the things that we ask them is like, what could the community do to impact your situation? And I wanted to bring that question forward to you all today because, you know, as you said, we mentioned things like, okay, you all have been on Shark Tank. And I want to talk a little bit about that experience too, right? Because that's cool. People know what Shark Tank is. And so they're like, well, what was it like? But before we get into that, I kind of want to know, like, how could the community be impactful in relation to Browndages?
Well, alhamdulillah, like the community has really, like, to this day, like they're why we are still, you know, in existence. It's just a matter of continuing to tell a friend, tell your mom, tell your cousin, like that's where our biggest gap is just in further exposure and marketing. You know what I mean? Like I said, like bandages are something that people will need. You know what I mean? Some people need them more than others, but it's something that the need for them will pretty much always be there. So it's like once people find out about our company, then it's kind of like a no-brainer almost. Like, why not support your own people? But it's just a matter of them finding out about our business. So it's like all the shares and, you know, telling a friend who's not on social media, like that's where it really shows us that people are showing up for us, and just continue to share with their community, share with their networks and stuff like that.
Yeah, because it pains me every time I meet someone and I ask them if they know what Browndages is, and they've never heard of us. Because in my mind, I'm like, okay, we got some exposure, but there's a large portion of the population that they have no idea what Browndages is. So just a matter of just sharing, as you said. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Shark Tank.
Because talk about Shark Tank.
Yeah. So how was it? Like, first of all, what made you decide, let's go on Shark Tank? And then what was it like?
And so as far as what made us decide, we've been extremely fortunate throughout this entire process, where a lot of times we have people reach out to us. So even with the music video that the Roots member did, they just reached out to us and said, would you mind? Same thing happened with Shark Tank. It was during the time of COVID. So normally Shark Tank, they do have auditions, I believe. But we just got an email and asking if we wanted to be on Shark Tank. So, yeah, sign us up.
It definitely wasn't as easy as that, though. Like, yeah, they emailed us, they reached out to us, but it's a very long, drawn out application process that you have to go through. And then they're constantly cutting people. So you make it from round 1, and then round 2, you have to do a pitch video. And send it in, and then they show it to producers. If the producers, you go on to the next round, and then it's like once you make it through a few rounds, that's when they match you with like an actual producer, and then they coach you to getting your pitch to where it needs to be for it to again be viewed by producers to see if you make the cut for filming. And even if you film, there's no guarantee that you air. So it's just like, it's so many different layers and stuff like that you have to get through to actually air on TV, to get the main thing that a lot of people want is that exposure. So it's just a lot of, like, I want to say it started like February 20. When was you be born?
21.
In February 21, we started the application process and stuff like that. Then we filmed in July, but it didn't air until April 22. So it was like a whole 14-month process from when you start the application to airing. And alhamdulillah, like, we actually aired, because they let you know like 2 weeks before your show airs that, you're up, you know what I mean? So you're still sitting on the edge of your seat up until 2 weeks before your air date on whether or not you actually made the cut.
Hopefully, I'm not sure if all this information, if we're supposed to be sharing this could be trade secret. So you may have just gotten us sued. So appreciate that.
Well, I mean, I only bring it up because I'm like, I think it's amazing that you all had that opportunity. I probably would have been so nervous. And it was exciting for us to see you all on there. Like, I don't know you personally. I didn't, but it was just like, they're from my community. Oh my goodness. I'm telling my children, they're looking at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, that's us, y'all.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like, we doing that for everybody. That wasn't just for us. So alhamdulillah.
Yes. So definitely proud of just seeing you all in the mix and doing this, and wanting you to know that, like, you're inspirational to people. And I know sometimes when you hear stuff like that, it's just kind of like, me? But I'm like, yeah, y'all. It's inspirational to know that someone who looks like you, is connected to what you're connected to, went out there, started a business, expanded to opportunities that we may not have even known that we could possibly be connected to, and make it work. And so kudos to y'all.
Appreciate it. That was one of our goals. We definitely wanted to try our best to represent for the community. Hopefully we did okay. I know even So when it comes to wardrobe, they ask you what you're going to wear. It's really up to you as long as it doesn't have logos or anything. But we have our like Browndages baseball caps. But it was immediately I got to wear a kufi. Like she gonna wear a scarf, I'm wearing a kufi. Right. So that was our goal. I think just to try to represent. I think I probably fell short a couple times, but I don't know.
Yeah, I know I did as well. So it's like, alhamdulillah, we went out there and tried. So alhamdulillah.
No, it's multiplying. We actually just put that link in the chat for people to look at it again and share it, because as you share that content, again, it gives more exposure to their business. As we did just put their website on, browndages.com. We're looking forward to being a distributor with our prosperity market, so we're going to be sharing it with our network as well. I have the full pictures of the product so you can see it if you're not able to get to the website. Y'all can walk us through some of these.
Yeah, so that's the array of shades that we produce. We have 5 different shades ranging from our sand shade, wheat, caramel, ebony, mocha, and then ebony. So that was the shades that we decided on. Inshallah, they are expansive enough to like cover all of us, if not perfectly, as pretty close. It was a little harder than we thought to pick out shades. It was just like we was going to the fabric store, getting swatches, putting them down. Like it was a process. So alhamdulillah.
And then you have the special package here honoring the historical figures. Can I speak to that?
Yep. So that's our Young Icons edition. Has a young Malcolm and a young Rosa Parks. We actually commissioned. It was a 16-year-old child who actually did the drawings for us. And we wanted to, everything that we do, we also try to like just support other Black businesses if we can, or Muslim businesses. So this was a 16-year-old African American child, a friend of mine.
Son.
Yeah, her son. But he did it for us. I thought the artwork was great. We actually have a couple more designs that we were thinking about. One has actually Sister Claire Muhammad on it. I forget who was on the other one. But yeah, so we're still trying to figure out if we're going to continue with that line.
And then this is the last one I got here. I guess these are pictures of young.
Yeah, these come from our unisex 10. It has a male character and a female character. These are actually commissioned images of the likeness of our niece Nuela, the ballerina, and my good friend from high school son Bashir, the judge. So we try to use like actual children's for our inspiration for our characters. We've run a contest in the past with our followers, and our girls 10-2 and our boys 10-2 are both. They're all 4 of those characters are from like children of our customers. Like they entered their children to win, and we selected them and stuff like that. So that was a fun little contest that we ran a couple of years back with our community on Instagram.
And so before you go, I know there are a few other products. If you could just tell us really quick what those are, in addition to the bandages.
We have a first aid kit. Everybody loves it. It has pretty much anything you can think of that you ever need in low-key or an emergency is in there. We have our 100% all-natural healing balm, which comes in clutch in almost any situation. It's all natural. It has neems in it. It has black seed oil in it. A brother out of North Carolina formulated it for us. People use it for chapstick. They use it for their scars. Like it runs the gamut of the things that you can use it for. We have merch, we have shirts, we have hats, we have pajamas, we have our elastic wraps, which are like an ace bandage. We have those in 2 shades. And I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And you guys got the books too. I think I got a line of books. I know the brother's an author.
Yeah, he's an author. I told you he got away with words. He has 3 children's books out with 2 more coming. So inshallah.
Yes. So you can purchase the books. The books are really they have a really good message for the youngins. With most of them, they do have like an Islamic.
Yeah, the lesson goes back to like an Islamic moral value kind of thing, but it's also universal. You know what I mean?
So. Right. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So there you have it. Browndages.com right here, right now, live New Freedom Exchange. Go ahead, go to the website. Don't hesitate. Get you a box. In fact, get you 2 boxes. In fact, get you the whole store if you want. Go shop. Go shop it. Go shop and get the full store. Get the ace bands. Get all that. The palm. You need all of it. Get the books for the children so you can read to the kids. Or literacy is important. Literacy is important. So reading to our children and exposing them to literacy is very, very important. So we want to encourage our listeners. If you're watching now, you watch the replay. Go ahead. Go click on browndages.com and make your purchase today.
Absolutely. And as a mom, I know what it is for our children to have something that they know represents them, just to have a bandage on that's their color, and they don't have to have the bandage that's a bunch of shades lighter than them. Like, it does something for them. It does something for their self-esteem. You can just watch, a child put something on that represents them, even when sometimes they have the crayons now that come in the multi colors. And so to be able to color their picture and their color, it does something to them. And I'm sure that the Browndages does the same thing for them. So make sure you get your box, get a box for your babies, your grandbabies, your nieces, your nephew, everybody gets some Browndages.
Or you get a brownish, you get a brownish. Right. All right. So we thank you again for coming with us. I got one thing to say before I leave. I just learned this today. It was a presentation down in North Carolina, and they said that poverty is the worst form of violence in this country. And so here we are with a family here, entrepreneurs, presenting a product of our own. Let us support each other and all that is good. So we thank you all for joining us. And you're welcome here. This is New Freedom Exchange, and we thank you for being a part of this conversation.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Thank you all.
We'll be right back after this commercial for our second half. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. You're up.
Legacy, brothers and sisters, let's celebrate. Legacy, Muslim Journal, 60 years today. Legacy, our history, our perspective, our way. Legacy, Islam is our path, success away. Legacy, visit muslimjournal.net online. Legacy, tech sponsor the 999. Legacy, 999. Legacy, muslimjournal.net online. Legacy, brothers and sisters, let's celebrate. Legacy, Muslim Journal, 60 years today. Legacy, our history, our perspective, our way. Legacy, Islam is our path, success away. Legacy, visit muslimjournal.net online. Legacy, tech sponsor the 999. Legacy, 999. Legacy, muslimjournal.net online.
And we're back. Welcome back. All right. How was that?
Awesome.
That was great. Sauce. That was absolutely great. I mean, I'm inspired. I said it to them, but I meant that from my heart. Like I'm inspired for all the people that, you get. Some people have ideas that they kind of sit on.
Yep.
They don't put it out into the space, and they did it. And that's just inspiration to know that we can do it too. And so again, shout out to Browndages. Make sure you get you some. But we're going to transition to our next guest, who is our dear sister Margari Hill, and she is representing an organization called MuslimARC. Did I get that right?
Yes, Muslim Anti-Racial Collaboration.
Yeah, so I don't know much about this organization, so I'm so excited to learn more. Nonprofits are my thing, so when I when I get connected to a new one, especially when I know is somebody who looks like me, I get really, really excited to know the great work that they're doing. So without further ado, we're going to bring on our next guest. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
How are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm following such an amazing dynamic duo. I am so excited and honored, and your beautiful smiling faces, Imam Bilal
Wa alaikum assalam.
and Sister Marsha. I'm just so happy to be connected, and you love nonprofits, so do I. So it's like the beginning of just a beautiful friendship, and
Yes.
thank you. Yeah.
Yes. So tell us about who you are and tell us about your organization.
Yeah, I mean, I have a long history in the Muslim community. So I became Muslim in 1993, so I'm going on 30 years as a Muslim. So I've been a Muslim for most of my adult life. It's been when I embraced Islam, I took Shahada at Masjid Worthing in Oakland, and grew up in Northern California. But I lived in the South Bay, and so my interaction with the Muslim community was mainly through the Muslim Student Association, but also being in diverse communities. And many of the communities that I was involved in were predominantly Arab and South Asian. And then I would go, if I went to the inner city, if I went to Oakland, to visit my peoples. It was a different experience. It was like warm and welcoming. I saw people that looked like me, that looked like my family. When I became Muslim, like many of the folks in the 90s, my introduction to Islam was through the Black experience. And it was also seeing so much love for Black people too, and the Black family. So some of the folks that gave me dawah, they were like young Muslims and they were getting married. And I was like, wow, there's something really special about this faith, right? And I had obviously like the biography of Malcolm X. So Spike Lee's Malcolm X movie had just came out. And I was just really, I knew if Malcolm X could be transformed, I was like, okay, like I could get my act together, maybe inshallah. I was not going to be at that level. So, but over, through that time of being a new Shahada, I noticed that there were some differences in treatment and I didn't have the words for it. But over time, when I chose to go back to school and decided to go into graduate school, I wanted to explore questions around racial identity formation in the Muslim world, because there were things that I didn't have the language for what we come to call microaggressions, what we call the ways that they refer to Black folks. And I saw that many of our people, like our young people, were going to schools in predominantly Arab and South Asian communities, and it was having an effect on them. And so after I left graduate school doing this research of racial identity in the Muslim world, in the Middle East and Islamic Africa, and then I taught at a Muslim school in Philadelphia, where it was like half Palestinian, half African American. I had this background in pedagogy and online learning, and when I was put in contact with some other activists and organizers, I had this idea of doing a massive online open course to take how I understood Islam, right, with our anti-racism ethos, and to make sure that our community was living by that there were, we knew that non-Black Muslims were using racial slurs. Like even African Muslims had racial slurs that they were calling us, right? Like you have Jarir, like so the Somalis are using the term Jarir, or some of the Nigerians Akata for African Americans. And to be able to train people so that they could go back to their communities and learn how to not be racist. So that was the intention of MuslimARC when we first started, which was 9 years ago. We just like tomorrow will be the first, it'll be the 9th anniversary of the hashtag Being Black and Muslim. So we launched with the hashtag conversation on Twitter and on social media to discuss both the beauty and the opportunities, like what we celebrated as being Black Muslims, but also some of the challenges that we faced in Muslim communities and beyond. And from that hashtag conversation, it went viral. The media picked it up. They picked up some of our other campaigns, and that was like a needs assessment that we had to sustain the conversation on race in American Muslim communities. And from there, we did a like the first national quantitative study on inter-Muslim ethnic relations to see, like, is this a problem, or are they just saying it was me? Because at first they used to tell it was just me. They're like, no, they're not treating you different, Margaret. It's just you. And I was like, okay, you know, like, so I had that, but every time I would meet people in my similar circumstances, they had similar experiences. But when we did the study, we found about 60% of Muslims overall had experienced some form of discrimination, like racial, ethnic discrimination. 79% of Black respondents reported that they experienced discrimination in Muslim communities. 79, I think 85% of the Latino Muslims reported discrimination, and 79% of the mixed race. And that could have been any, whether they were white and Arab, Black and Arab, because we didn't distinguish. We weren't such great social scientists, you know, like we had to like to disaggregate data. But it was, that was enough to say, you know, like if people were turning away from their faith because they weren't fully welcomed or they had these encounters, that we had to do something. And so since then, like we have done curriculum, and we also felt that there was a need to ensure that the national Muslim organizations put issues that were of concern to the African American, the Black American Muslim community, put those on the agenda. And so there was a lot of, like, we had to do a lot of advocating, a lot of kind of pushing for that, and specifically around issues like police brutality, around gun violence, around poverty, just really making sure that they were focusing on domestic issues of racial justice.
So you've said so many things, and I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, if you want to dive in, it's a lot.
No, but let me tell you something. What I am so impressed by is the fact that you had an experience, both directly and indirectly, in terms of observing the climate around you and how African American Muslims were treated differently, right? And your thoughts were to, let's research this. Let's do a needs assessment. Let's get the data on this. And so, and let me let you know, you are speaking my language for sure. My master's degree is in nonprofit management. I'll just say that. But
we need you in this space because we also have a lot of issues with our nonprofits and the management.
Whole nother show, right? Yeah. But the fact that there is this research happening within the Muslim community around how we treat each other, I think is amazing, right? Because so many times, you know, people say things like, they feel this way about us, or people don't like this because of this. And it's not grounded in anything. But when you put a survey to it or do some research around it, now you can quantify and qualify those statements with something. And so I love it. And on top of that, for me, it's also like I guess it's eye-opening probably even to do that kind of research, because you say, well, Islam is the religion that it is, right? And it's all about treating people well, right? And so you wouldn't even fathom in your mind that in this religion of treating people well, amongst other things, that there is a schism between the way Black Muslims are treated and other ethnicities of Muslims are treated. It doesn't fit. Yeah, so I'm just like, yeah, I'm glad that you did the research, because those things don't fit in Islam, but they do exist. And the only way, I guess, to tackle that is to say, here's the data. Now, what do we do about it?
Exactly. You know, and part of it, it's like, I mean, because we did have even with the hashtag conversation, which is data in itself, it was like doing a survey. When you have thousands of Black Muslims sharing their experiences, that was saying like, look, this isn't just a one-off thing. There's people that are experiencing this globally. Like we had UK Muslims weighing in. We had Black Muslims that were studying in Indonesia sharing their experiences. But really, like most of the participants in that conversation, they were in the US, and it was coast to coast what they were sharing, like when they did have certain grievances, when they experienced types of the discrimination. So, and what we have within our own community is like when your own community mistreats you, there's a different level of betrayal. There's a psychological aspect that Dr. Camilla Mu'min Rashid talks about, that it's even harder on you, you know? And so, you know, our religious spaces are supposed to be safe spaces. And, you know, and when you feel betrayed that way, it's very hard for like our young people to want to come to those spaces and to pray and, you know, with their co-religionists. And so, you know, 9 years from, you know, since we founded MuslimARC, it's been definitely eye-opening. It's still, you know, there's many changes that we've had, but we still have a long way to go for people to learn how to really ground themselves and in the faith tradition and treat Black Muslims well. And we also have a long way to go, because I mean, in some ways, there's elements of our own community that it seems like they've gone 50 to 100 years back in the way that they like our own people. I was like, wait, how are you Black and Muslim and you're talking like that? So we have to do that anti-racism uprooting, because some people say, oh, Black Muslims don't need anti-racism. I'm like, wait till you see some of our folks. They are blaming us for the condition of our people and not looking at, you know, like they're just saying like, oh, it's Black culture, and not acknowledging that our culture has produced many beautiful things and has been resilient, but yet they're blaming culture for everything wrong and not looking at the, you know, the historical factors and even just things that have gone on in our lifetime of how people have exploited us economically, the constant discrimination. And so, you know, we have to counter those voices and be effective in our own community. Like when you have people that are like, I embraced Islam because it was embracing my Blackness, right? It was like, but now you start to have some Muslims, like they're just like, they take Shahada, they say a couple of Arabic words, and they'd be like, you know, I'm an Arab now. And it's like, no, you're not. You still like, you know, like
still Black, brother. Still Black, sis.
Yeah. We have all the same problems, and we have things that we have to work on, and that we can't let those pass us by, that we have to care for our communities. Our Islam has to be relevant. We have to give back. And for my work at MuslimARC is really to build solidarity and to be that, you know, to be that reminder, and train folks in their own communities so that they could be allies, like be better allies with Black Muslims, with Latino Muslims, and but also even like the anti-Asian, I saw a lot of anti-Asian sentiment in the Muslim community. That was really shocking. And when you look at the statistics, that the largest Muslim country, the demographic is Indonesia. And by far, Southeast Asian Muslims, if you take like Black Muslims, like sub-Saharan African Muslims, not North, no, we're not talking about Egypt, even like, but it's like that Black Muslims will eventually surpass Middle East, like Swana, North African, Middle Eastern Muslims demographically by 2050. But if we count Sudan and the Afro-Arabs in North Africa, I think we're about on par as far as like Arab Muslims demographically. But yet when you see the depictions as far as like who's a Muslim, you never see Indonesians or Malaysians, and you hardly see African Muslims. They always show a certain phenotype, a certain culture, when Muslims globally are very diverse. And we know the statistics of what we are in the US. So our other work is on media to make sure that there's better representation of Black Muslims in the media, of really making sure that they're not just only selecting one type of Muslim. So that's something that we really work on. We work with philanthropy to make sure that they're supporting more Black-led initiatives and social change. And we still have a way to go, but like it's definitely been a blessing, because when we first started, we didn't have all the movies. We definitely didn't have You People. Like we didn't, like Muslim just came out, so it's like to now see more Black Muslims in shows and representation, and to see like Amina Bakir's movie and the people behind the scenes doing really great stuff and more initiatives. That's been really a blessing. And I really claim like a lot of that work is the fruits of our labor behind the scenes. Alhamdulillah.
Excellent. I want to go back to a little bit in reference to how the MuslimARC deals with systemic racism, and we talked about it, but really diving a little deeper into that conversation, because that's a conversation that needs to be had and continue to be had in our communities. How that has played a crucial role in a lot of our communities being in the socioeconomic situations that they find themselves in, that we are in. It's because of systemic racism, and its many components. It's like a spider with like multiple legs. Like it has this leg. So how does the MuslimARC tackle the institution of systemic racism?
Yeah, I mean, systemic and the structural, the historical forces, right, that have been working against our people. So, as a descendant of Africans who are forcibly brought here, and for 400 years, like they couldn't invest in their labor because it was always being stolen from them. And the most dangerous thing was to be an uppity Negro back in the day, right? Like if you had something like my great grandfather, that could cause you a problem, and then they would lose all of their property, and then the next year, like they'd have to start all over again. So we, to understand structural racism is to really try to map out how like the multiple layers that racism operates. And for us, we kind of break down within our training the 4 I's of racism, which is like the ideological, the ways that like the narratives, the ideas, the stereotypes that allow for people to be treated in a different way, to be treated as less than human, right? So that's the ideological, and that could be whether the stereotypes and the tropes and the and then what happens when it gets internalized by people, right? That could be the internal, so that's the other I, and that could be internalized superiority, right, or inferiority. And that's either if you believe that you're better or less than somebody else, that's not a positive self-identity. And so we can internalize these things that we've been taught like for 400 years about race, about how people, like who's more human than others. And then in the other dimension of racism, the interpersonal and how we treat each other. So that's where we tend to focus a lot on, which is like the racial slurs, the microaggressions. We cancel people, right? Like online, they like to cancel people for saying the wrong things. So there's so much focus on the interpersonal, right? And the hate crimes, which are very rare, but they do happen. I mean, I faced hate crimes and racial intimidation. It's something that we have to stomp out. And then there's the institutional, how it lives, how it's reproduced in organizations, within schools, between institutions. And so we have to understand the cultures and the unwritten policies and how people are treated. And from there, we have to think about our individual responsibility and to act on each of those dimensions. How do we counter the ideological racism? How do we uproot the internal? How do we intervene for the interpersonal racism? And what types of policies and laws, things that legislation, how do we organize and build power to transform our institutions and ultimately society? And so for each of those dimensions, we have to empower people to be able to act, to not feel hopeless, right, about racism, that we can be, instead of cogs in the machine, we could throw a monkey wrench in it, or we could build something else, right? So it's very exciting that we can do little things to make a difference. And how do we deal with that? Like, even if we talk about the institutional, which I think is the most important part, right? We can always focus on the interpersonal, but all of this is being replicated and reproduced by like the media institutions, right? Or banking, the financial institutions. And so I hear you, you know, with the financial aspects and the racial wealth gap, you know, these are things that we have to think through of like, how do we empower our community? How do we build power, build economic power? How do we collaborate to counter those who benefit from our oppression? Because there are people that do benefit, right, in what's happening, whether that's in the suburban rings. Because where I live, like they push out poverty, right? You could be in San Bernardino County, where I live, and all the people that are getting displaced out of Los Angeles, they're going to San Bernardino. And so it's like, so it's not even in the inner city. It's like they're, you know, in the suburbs, sometimes it's in the country. And so we have to think through ways that we address the immediate needs of our people, whether that's like the food kitchens, the backpack, you know, programs, the after school programs. And then we got to address the long term, the institutions, whether that's government institutions, things. And for us, we found that community organizing, building people power is important. And behind that, you still need people to make enough money. We need philanthropists. We need people to have money to really to hold those accountable, right? And to build new ways that we can live with dignity. So I do think it's like sometimes like the economic aspects of anti-racism are downplayed. And that's sort of like that paternalistic approach to, you know, DEI, you know, it's like, oh yeah, we're going to help these people. But, you know, the thing is like, what's really beautiful that we understand, like of the Muslims, even coming from the Nation of Islam, like they were just like do for self, right? And so we weren't dependent upon a nonprofit that was run mainly by white men on top telling us what we could do and actually creating more problems for our communities. But we understood what we needed and we did those things, whether that's creating stores, having farms, you know, like just like Black endeavors, which gave us some autonomy from the systemic oppression in the society. So we definitely need to go still do some more research. You know, I'm down. Like if y'all have time, I'm here for it, and to have these deep discussions to be, you know, like for us to do that real systemic change that Muslims can do. Like we were at the roots of it, and it's really beautiful. It's really amazing, and that's for me. That's what still inspires me in my work.
Yeah, we definitely going to unpack. I'm taking notes over here. We definitely gonna have to unpack that. I ain't gonna do a snatchies, no snatchies tonight. But
yes he is, sis. Don't say too many words because you gonna have
so
your whole script on this paper.
I got a treat for you. Though. I'm gonna play a quick clip of Malcolm X real quick as a treat, and then when we get back, I do like to address, because as you stated early on in your introduction about how it made it seem like it was just about you, maybe your experience, me being born and raised Muslim, right, and going to the camp and outings with those other different types of Muslims, and not knowing that we know how to understand a little bit of Arabic and stuff, right? So they talk a lot of crazy stuff when they out in the woods. So I'm gonna play this little clip real quick, and then inshallah, if you could just talk about how that impacts the children. You did talk about institutionalized as a school, but just in our homes and so forth and so on. So here's a real quick. To what you were just speaking about.
Negroes in this country are confronted by is with a re-education program, not a re-education program for whites, but a re-education program for black people themselves to eliminate the negative image that has been through propaganda instilled within us of ourselves since we've been in this country. It'll take an entirely new approach to restore some kind of racial pride and racial dignity in the minds of the black people. And once we have this pride and this dignity, we can get the cohesiveness and the unity and harmony necessary to solve our own problems here in the black community instead of waiting for representatives of the white community to come uptown and solve these problems for us.
So that was just a snippet. I mean, and everything you've been talking about is just compacted in that quick snippet. But if you could share your reflections on that and then address the youth.
Definitely. I mean, the way that I see how Black people treat each other and leadership like they're, I mean, in movement spaces, we call that lateral violence. But when we love each other as much as we're like looking and respecting those from the dominant society, if we did that, I mean, we have really effective institutions. And that takes like healing from the trauma, healing from the bombardment of images that tells us like we are less than. So, I mean, he's absolutely right. And our children are subject to that. You know, they're getting bombarded by just a lot of negative imagery. And it is, you know, I mean, sadly to say, it's still like some of the discussions we were having 30 years ago. I'm like, wow, it seems like it's not getting better. And so, but what I found that was very hopeful in some ways, like where, and when I've seen in communities where Black Muslim children have grown up in these kind of like in an environment that has cultivated and celebrated them, is just this self-confidence. I'm like, I didn't have that self-confidence when I went to predominantly white institutions. Like, I mean, I ended up I was a transfer student at Santa Clara University, but I had wanted to go to historically Black college because I see how that builds up our people. And so that's similar for like when you have that from childhood. When I moved to California from Trenton, New Jersey, so a lot of people don't know I was born in New Jersey, and I remember,
Jersey girl.
yeah, I am. So, but like the thing that affected me was I had a lot of confidence before I came to California, and I was in a predominantly Black and Puerto Rican community. And then I came to California, and it was just a erosion of my sense of self. And so we have to make sure that when our children are in different environments, that we help build them up. My mom didn't know, but she would tell me things, but sometimes like one parent isn't enough. Like you have to really do a lot, build a community of love and build up our children. And in Muslim environments, going to those camps, I mean, it's interesting when you have like Muslim children that grow up in predominantly African-American communities. And when they go to the camp, they're like, are y'all out of your mind? But, you know, like they still have that confidence, but imagine what that's all that you experience. I chose to be Muslim, and, you know, I learned through Malcolm X, but our young people aren't getting, like they're getting a different experience. And this is actually affecting their Deen. They're leaving, they're not getting involved in the Muslim student associations in college. And we know what happens in college. So if they're going to just be in a non-Muslim environment, because my Muslim identity was formed in the Muslim Student Association, because I chose to be Muslim and I chose to kind of duke it out with some of the little tensions and stuff. And but now, you know, like I'm seeing our young people saying, look, you know, maybe we hear back from them when it's time to get married. And unfortunately, sometimes even for our janazas, that's when we hear like, okay, we got to take care of this brother, this sister who, she, you know, she hasn't been involved in the community, but her mother's, you know, so, you know, we may see them sometimes. So you know, this job is really that I have is really to make sure that our communities have those seeds where our youth are embraced in their full self.
Yeah, and just to echo what you just stated about, you know, the young people and maybe not even being connected to the MSA. My daughter was just sharing with me. So she's a freshman at Howard, and she's one of the freshman representatives in the MSA. And she was sharing how they had just recently had some kind of event, and there were some people from campus that came to the event that she didn't even know were Muslim, because she was like, where y'all been? You know? And then she had one young man say, yeah, no, she didn't know he was Muslim. And he had said to her that he was Muslim. He's like, but I'm not joining the MSA. And so I thought that was interesting. I also chose, I guess, to be Muslim. And I wasn't Muslim in college, and I can't even fathom what that experience could potentially be like for a young person. But I just wanted to echo what you had just stated, because she just shared that with me. But what I'm interested to know is, in terms of the training that you provide, who receives that? Do you provide it for organizations? How does that work?
Yeah, so we do have organizations that do bring us out. So sometimes we do in person. So if we're local, like I live in Southern California, so I could drive out, and other organizations will bring out a MuslimARC representative. And we also do webinars online, and we also organize our own webinars where individuals can purchase a ticket and attend. We have a membership program, and our webinars were free for members. Now, you know, some of the webinars, like it's a reduced fee for members, and but individuals can take our classes and workshops, but also organizations, and organizations can collaborate to book us, so that we're happy to come out and work with communities bringing multiple organizations or board members. So we've worked with boards, we've worked with the youth programs. I mean, our curriculum runs the gamut from K through 12. And we also have our competency, which is for leadership development for nonprofits.
I like that.
I already know Marsha's head is spinning right now.
My head is all the way spinning. My head is doing some kind of exorcist type thing right now, because I'm just like, you know, so to that point, who's the ideal candidate for this training?
Yeah, so the other track that we do have, so there's 3 tracks that we do have, and for Muslims, they tend to take our anti-racism competency. When we work with universities, other like who are not Muslim, because Muslims, we got our own universities, mashallah, we're here. And so, but like when we have like, when we work with, say, foundations and different types of institutions who like, they want to learn how to work with Muslims, but they're also trying to think about how can they ensure that they're being anti-racist and when they're working with Muslims. So we have a critical anti-Islamophobia track that we do, which counters some of the tropes that they have, that all Muslims are from the Middle East or the Swana region or South Asian, to kind of really rethink how they think about who Muslims are, look at the issues of anti-Muslim discrimination in a systemic way. And because some, for many years, like they were a little bit problematic in how they were doing things, like some of the ways that they were approaching it were both anti-Black and anti-Native, you know, because they'd be like, this is a nation of all immigrants. And we're like, excuse me, but we didn't ask to be here. And there's also Native Americans, they did not immigrate. And you know, like our community has both, right? You know, we have Black, Indigenous folks. So like our 3 tracks, so for even for Muslim organizations, I think that they could benefit from our critical anti-Islamophobia track. But when it comes to dealing with like the issues between us of having that anti-racism approach, where we have specialized programs that focus on how do people of color internalize white supremacy and how we harm each other with white supremacy culture and norms, and that the ideal client could be anybody. But we do have a very strong track record with Muslim communities. And we also, like when we do it with Muslims, we can go into the foundations of our education curriculum, which are rooted in the Quran and Sunnah. Like, I mean, there's just so much in our faith tradition that it's like, it addressed it. It's just Muslims for 1400 years would kind of violate those things. But we have like strong traditions around solidarity, around positive, like the knowledge of self, right? Like, I mean, they didn't use all the words, but we knew like knowledge of self, appreciating diversity, that's in the Quran, and standing for justice. So those are the four foundations of anti-racism. We have it as Muslims, for the most part, compared to other faith communities. We're having these advanced conversations on race. We've been doing this for 1400 years there, you know, and we have a lot, like that's the dawah that we have. We can provide that example of what it's like to have a multiracial ummah and to center it right within the Black freedom struggle. And that's been like a very, like for me, like as an African-American Muslim, Black Muslim, it's just like the beauty. That's something I take deep pride in as a Muslim. And so yeah, I don't know if there's any ideal client, because we we are very open to work with everybody that is looking to improve their institutions.
Excellent, excellent. And alhamdulillah, we are very grateful to have had you on, Sister Margari Hill from Muslim ARC. Happy anniversary to Muslim ARC for the work that you have been doing for the past 9 years. I do remember the hashtag on Twitter. It's been some time, and I'm just happy to see how much progress this organization has grown over 9 years and blossomed and is doing, like you mentioned, these trainings all across the country and collaborating with a lot of other groups and institutions and masjids and other not-for-profits. And it's just a very needed, much needed work, much needed healing, much needed training that needs to happen. And, you know, the work continues, and the connection that we have shared here in the space also, as we spoke about education and we spoke about the HBCU. It's never too late, Sister Margari Hill. You want to go back and get your doctorate, master's doctorate degree, you know, the doors are open. But we're continuing the efforts here with the HBCU MSA Coalition, you know, and those efforts continue, and we're more than happy and to talk, you know, about collaboration, where we can collaborate amongst our organizations to bring this kind of training and bring this kind of experience to the students, you know. And because of again, because of the experience of the students, and I think this was a hashtag too, correct me if I'm wrong, Margari Hill, but being Black in the MSA was a hashtag. Was that you all too?
Yes.
That was you all. That's the hashtag. That's the
hashtag.
Yes, yes, that's the hashtag. I remember me first learning about the Muslim ARC, and you know, reading that thread, or those threads, was just wow. And because of that, a lot of the Black Muslim student spaces at PWIs have birthed out. NYU and University of Connecticut, University of Texas. And these are the type of relationships that we want to continue to build, because we all share in the same faith, and we also share in the same experience as Muslims. And we want not to separate, even though we go to two different college atmospheres. We do share our faith, and we do share an experience of being Black, being African American, being Black in this country. So thank you so much for your work and for your efforts. Really do.
It's an honor.
Yeah, I wanted to add that I appreciate the efforts of the Muslim ARC. I love that. I can tell that you all strive to make Islam practical, right? To point out the practicality in Islam, and because so many times people have so many convoluted, you know, preconceptions, misconceptions, conceptions of what Islam is, who Muslims are. And it sounds like the efforts that you all work towards are to present Islam in a very practical way. And I think that even is something that Muslims have to learn, you know, because sometimes even for us, we make it so much more convoluted than what it really is. And I just wanted to add that I appreciate those efforts, and it sounds like amazing work, like work that, you know, there's work, and then there's work that like you get up to do every day that you don't mind doing because it's exciting to like figure out and solve the puzzle. And it sounds like, at least that's how I would feel if I was working with the Muslim ARC. I would feel like, yay, I get to get up today and figure something else out. So
we got to figure out some stuff together, because I mean, I just feel like this is just the beginning. And you know, sometimes, I mean, really the power of relationship and getting to know people. I really wish I was connected with you earlier, but you know, Allah is the best of planners.
Absolutely.
And you know, this is just such a wonderful, and I really want to make sure that we are showing love to our new generation coming, to our youth. So we're here for them. So I just look forward to collaborating and connecting, and you know, just let us know. I mean, I'm here. You have my number.
Excellent, excellent. There you have it. That was Margari Hill, the founder and president, right? President, CEO.
Executive director.
Excuse me.
ED.
Give her what she needs of Muslim anti-racial collaboration. We thank her for joining us this New Freedom February Saturday evening. We thank you. This is now your home as well, New Freedom platform. This sounds like a podcast. Just discussing these things is very crucial. There's a lot to unpack. So we thank you for sharing this time with us. All of you who have been following us since we started. Thank you all for joining us for our double hitter. And we look forward to seeing you again next time. Same station, same time. Until next time, peace.
Assalamu
alaikum.
Sending love in every shade of brown to you. Sending love in every shade of brown to you. Sending love in every shade of brown to you. Sending love in every shade of brown, shade of brown. They say the first cutter be the one that sets the tone, to add pressure to a lesser known flesh and bone, to look different than the picture shown, and to be a rebel means you're not about to settle till you get your own. This one's for all my outside of the box thinkers, with bumblebee stingers and paper cut fingers and scrapes on their kneecaps. I know the pain lingers. The healthy way to heal a broken wing is to give it love. Sending love in every shade of brown to you. Sending love in every shade of brown to you. Sending love in every shade of brown to you. Sending love in every shade of brown, shade of brown. Yeah, the thing about community is how proud it is. We understand what well balanced and what grounded is. And love is the hinge that heals and mends, conceals and blends, and keeps us all covered. That's Browndages. We say it's all black when it's all love, and it's brown when it's all good. Browndages, we help heal the hurt. So put us on. I said you gotta put us on.